Welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to be diving into something super fascinating today, the paradox of binding beliefs. Basically, we're unpacking the dual nature of our absolute deepest belief systems and how they literally shape the society we live in. We all rely on these mental structures to make sense of the world, right? But have you ever actually stopped to analyze the structural integrity of those exact beliefs? Well, that's exactly what we're doing today. Let's get into it. Before we really get going, I want you to just take a second and turn the lens inward. Ask yourself, do your morals unite you, or do they blind you? It's a pretty provocative question, isn't it? We usually just assume that our moral compass is this purely positive force, like a true north that guides us through life. But today, we're going to explore why that assumption might actually be, well, kind of incomplete.
And that brings us to this incredibly powerful and honestly pretty challenging quote from our source material. Religion binds and blinds. Morality binds and blinds. Wow, it's a heavy statement for sure, but it perfectly sets the stage for what we're looking at. We're talking about a fundamental duality here. The very things that tie us to one another, they also have this immense power to completely obscure our vision of the wider world. So let's start with section 1, the core paradox. You know, what's really interesting here is just the words themselves. Notice how binding and blinding sound so similar? Just one little letter separates them, and that beautifully highlights how interconnected they are in our psychology. On one hand, you have binding, which is basically the ultimate social glue. It brings a group of people together under common principles and shared ethics. But right next to it is blinding. That's when that exact same social glue hardens into this rigid, super narrow-minded worldview. You really rarely get one without at least the potential for the other. Moving on to section 2, the power to bind. Let's talk about these uniting forces. So how do beliefs actually unite us? Well, religion and morality are fundamentally required for bringing people together. Think about it. Shared principles and rules are essentially the building blocks of any successful society. You absolutely need established ethics to build anything that lasts. Without them, working toward common goals is, well, practically impossible. From the earliest civilizations right up to modern neighborhoods, these shared belief systems take us from being isolated individuals and forge us into a collective force capable of some truly incredible things. The real takeaway here is that these systems provide a vital framework that gives our lives a massive sense of meaning and purpose. Creating a sense of belonging isn't just some nice, warm, and fuzzy byproduct. It is a fundamental human need. When we share a belief system, we are no longer alone. It anchors us. It helps us figure out our place in the world, and importantly, our responsibilities to the people standing right next to us. And look, at their absolute best, these frameworks act as the ultimate foundation for some truly profound societal good. They inspire incredible acts of compassion, they drive us to fight for justice, and they motivate just breathtaking selflessness. When you see a whole community rally together to support a family after a natural disaster, or when people sacrifice their own comfort for a stranger, that is the incredible positive power of binding beliefs in action. It literally elevates human nature. But we have to look at the flip side. Section 3. The danger of blinding. Here's where things get tricky. That exact same sense of belonging that unites us, it can, unfortunately, devolve into intense rigidity and intolerance. It's the dark side of belief. When a group gets wrapped a bit too tightly in its shared morals, it creates this really narrow-minded worldview. If we aren't incredibly careful, these belief systems limit our thinking. They create this harsh us versus them mentality. And honestly, that is precisely where prejudice takes root. Suddenly, the boundary that defines your group turns into a massive brick wall blocking out the rest of humanity. So look at this side-by-side comparison. It really is a delicate tightrope walk, isn't it? On the left side, you've got the binding effect, this beautiful framework of compassion, unity, justice, and purpose. But right there on the right side, lurking in the shadow, is the blinding effect, rigidity, intolerance, prejudice, and narrow-mindedness. It's the exact same underlying mechanism of humans organizing around shared ideas, but with vastly, vastly different outcomes. The line between a wonderfully supportive community and a deeply intolerant faction is often razor thin. Which leads us perfectly into section 4. Striking the right balance. The key to all of this lies entirely in how we interpret and apply these concepts. The source text makes a really crucial point here. It's not the belief itself that is inherently good or evil, it's how the individual applies it. If we let our morals limit our thinking, yeah, they're going to blind us. But if we consciously use them as a foundation for empathy and understanding, then they remain a huge force for positive change. At the end of the day, that responsibility rests squarely on our shoulders. So, how do we actually do that? Well, we need what the source outlines as a critical thinking toolkit. Step 1, question your assumptions. Don't just accept a belief just because it feels comfortable. Step 2, challenge your biases. Look, we all have them, and just admitting that is the very first step to overcoming them. And step 3, seek out diverse perspectives. You literally cannot realize you're being blinded if you only ever look at the world through one single lens. You have to actively go out and engage with people who view the world completely differently than you do.
By putting this toolkit to work, we can actively avoid the major pitfalls of blind faith and rigid morality. You see, critical thinking isn't the enemy of belief, not at all. Actually, scratch that. It's more like the vital companion to it. It's the essential safeguard that stops our deep-seated need for community from just calcifying into prejudice. It keeps our moral frameworks open, breathing, and fundamentally empathetic. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final thought to chew on today. Are you actively questioning your assumptions? Because ultimately, it's totally up to each of us to decide how we're going to use our deepest convictions. Think about it. Are your beliefs a tool for empathy that bridges the gaps between people? Or are they a wall of prejudice that isolates you? Keep that in the back of your mind as you navigate the world today. Thanks so much for joining me, and keep questioning.